welcome back to the Fallon Frequency Podcast, your space for that alignment, expansion, and of course, unstoppable energy. I am your host, Fallon, and your mindset mentor, and today we are going to be diving into a sneaky little pattern that every single one of us, yes, even the most self-aware, high-achieving, heart-centered women have fallen into at some point in their life, and that is that sneaky limiting belief of self-sabotage. It's been coming up really quite a lot in my world and quite obvious in certain conversations with women I've been having. So I really wanted to go ahead and bring some light to it because it can be really sneaky, it can be really subtle, and it can disguise itself as a logic or boundaries or even, I love when people tell me they're being realistic, like gross. The truth here is most people don't realize that self-sabotage itself doesn't mean there's something wrong with you. It usually means something very, very right is happening because you are growing, you are expanding, you're literally jumping timelines. And when this happens, when you start operating at a new level of energy or worthiness or even this new identity, right? Your old self, your old nervous system, your old patterns, they're going to creep in. They're going to be like, wait, what's going on here? Are we safe here? And obviously that's, where the sabotage kind of begins. It's not a broken feature of you. Everyone experiences it, but your body and your subconscious are really just trying to keep you in what feels familiar, even if what feels familiar is exactly what's holding you back. So today I want to unpack, what self-sabotage really looks like, how it sneaks into your relationships, how it sneaks into your business, how it sneaks into your goals, and really how we can shift out of it when you feel yourself kind of spiraling backwards into these old patterns. Because the moment that you can recognize it for what it is, that's the moment that you take your power back. So what is self-sabotage? I think it gets really misunderstood, in a lot of different spaces, but it's not you being lazy. And for me, it's not even being like inconsistent. It's not even you being afraid of success, which is such a big limiting belief for people. It's your old identity trying to protect you. It's your subconscious saying like, fuck, like, hold up, girl. This is completely new territory. This is unfamiliar. I don't like it. Let's pull back to what we know. The body and mind equate familiar with safe, even when familiar means unfulfilled. And yes, you heard me. Even when familiar means unfulfilled. Your system doesn't care if you're happy. It cares if you're safe. It's programmed to keep you safe. And sometimes the version of safe is stuck or small or overworked. So the second you really start to expand and you're stepping into this new level or a new identity, or you want to be in a new timeline, your nervous system starts to freak out. It's like, we've never been here before. Let's retreat. And that's kind of the moment where sabotage really slides in very so slyly. Not because you're doing something wrong, but because you're growing and actually doing something right. And I want to make this really real because I know a lot of my really driven women, high achieving women listening, they're going to feel this one many, many times. It's like, I'm going to give you a few examples just to really point it out to see when you might be actually self-sabotaging without even realizing it, right? It's like saying that you want to be visible, you want to have an impact. And you're posting things and you're showing up if you have an online business. And then suddenly your content actually starts to land with people. Like, people are like interested. They're watching. They're having conversations with you. They're DMing you and they're resonating. And what do? You ghost. You fucking disappear. You tell yourself that you're recharging, that you need some space, that you're protecting your energy. But really, your system's saying visibility feels unsafe. That's a really sneaky one, and probably one that I maybe struggled with in the beginning the most, because I was so like anti-socials, which is really funny because now I'm on there all the time. But, when you change the way you look at things, looking at it for creation and for connection versus consumption, just wasn't my thing. But yeah, I think there was a lot of self-sabotaging happening. Now, maybe, another great example would be you're in your business and things, start working. Let's say you get an influx of clients or your income shoots up or opportunities come your way. And instead of celebrating, instead of being like, holy shit, it is happening for me, fuck yes, you start doubting. You start overanalyzing. You start procrastinating. You find this way to slow down this epic momentum coming at you because your old identity still feels more comfortable in this struggle phase, if that makes sense. And, another example, not business related, I speak to women on the daily, and so many are manifesting their dream man, manifesting their partner and calling that in. And for me, when I see this, like self-sabotage could really look like you're doing the work, you feel like you're, really on that healing journey and you're manifesting things. And then let's say, with the example of the dream partner, you suddenly meet him, right? Someone who is whatever you wrote down, emotionally available, really grounded, consistent, and you're vibing with it. And then like out of nowhere, all of a sudden you feel bored. Like you start overthinking, you're picking fights, you're searching for red flags that do not exist. This sounds ridiculous and it sounds wild, and you'd be surprised about how many fucking people do this. That is your nervous system saying like, whoa, wait a second, calm? This calm, peaceful thing feels unsafe. I don't know how to relax into this. Because maybe you in the past have been used to chaos and drama and uncertainty. So that's familiar. This calm and this new pattern and this ease and this peaceful feeling, this is a completely new frequency that you've never lived in, right? So your body's still trying to catch up. So what do? You start self-sabotaging, not because something's, innately wrong, but because your identity hasn't expanded to match this timeline. So old self will scream, this is too easy. When's the shoe gonna drop? Something must be wrong. Like things just don't get this good. And that, my love, is the root of self-sabotage. It honestly shows up everywhere. It shows up in love. It shows up in your business, shows up in money, shows up in friendships. Anytime something new and aligned enters your world, the old identity will try to pull you back to what's familiar, even if familiar feels like a struggle. So if you're noticing those patterns, take a breath. You're not broken. It's just that your identity hasn't fully caught up, hasn't really made that big shift yet, into your new frequency. It's an initiation is how I like to look at it. And when you can reconnect, in that moment and recognize that moment, you stop running from it and you can actually recode it, which is incredible. So when you are stepping into a new chapter or a new identity or completely a new energetic baseline, your old self does get triggered. And, probably a lot of what I'm saying right now is maybe triggering a little part of you or a few of you. And I want you to take that as like a really awesome sign. Actually, for that own, just saying that alone, any trigger is a sign that something's out of alignment for you. Or if like somebody else triggers you what they say, it's about getting to the root of why you're being triggered. You're really bumping up against your edge, this energetic edge I love talking about, because you're bumping up against this part of yourself that is ready to expand, to step to the other side. Your nervous system is going to feel like expansion is danger. It is going to be like, it's like this identity piece of who am I if I'm no longer the person who struggles through life, or if I'm no longer the people pleaser, if I'm no longer overworking myself. Or another great one, who am I if it gets to be easy? You have no fucking idea because you've never let it be easy for yourselves. I'm going to be quite straight with you. We can talk about the biggest bullshit story I ever told myself. I was a workaholic. Badge of honor, like give me all the jobs, I can do it. No way was I letting it be easy. I'm going to work the most hours and I'm just going to keep going, gold star for Fallon. But let me tell you, that needed to end. My body couldn't handle that anymore. It gets to be easy. Like simply done, the end, period. It gets to be easy because it gets to be easy, not because you overworked and fucking earned it. Okay? And it's one of those things like, who am I if I'm no longer the fixer? Or for a lot of women I work with, the overachiever, or the one holding it all fucking together. And it's like, these stories we carry, they are loud, they are relentless, and they feel true. But you can't, the kicker here is your old self cannot enter your new timeline. So what does your system do? Everything it can to drag you back. It always is trying to drag you into that safety, and that is a sabotage. And that's why, the right things, when they do start clicking, like right when you're feeling this momentum and all of a sudden you're feeling the resistance, the fear, the procrastination, the confusion, all of it is because it's trying to pull you back. What matters is if you actually go through it or if you let it bring you back, If you've ever really felt like, why does it feel harder when things are finally starting to go right? That's an identity friction there, okay? That's your energetic threshold really trying to expand. That's your soul upgrading your frequency and your body freaking the fuck out because it doesn't have these reference points yet. I spoke about this pretty in depth in a different episode. It doesn't know what to expect, right? Think about it like learning to ride a bike for the first time. You're wobbly. You're scared. Maybe you scrape your knees a few times on the pavement. And as a little kid, you think, I can't do this. This feels unsafe. I might fall. Like, put the fucking training wheels back on. And yet, you still go, right? You persevere. You push through it. You go through the wobbles. And before you know it, you're coasting down the street like you're a pro. You didn't fail. You were just adjusting to a new way of being, right? Anything is hard before it's easy. It's hard when you've never done it before. And that's what I want you to recognize, because that's exactly what's happening with you. Your new identity, your new energy, your new next level timeline, it's unfamiliar, it's completely new. And your old patterns, your old identity, your nervous system is asking for a little time to just let it catch up. So next time you do notice yourself self-sabotaging right when things are going well, don't shame yourself, don't panic, recognize it, name it, and let it be your signal that you're stepping into something bigger than your old self has ever known. So of course it's going to feel wobbly. I wanted to point out some really obvious ones, like what self-sabotage can look like for driven women, because this is where it kind of gets a bit sneaky, right? This is where, we sabotage in ways that look actually super fucking productive. But the tricky part is like you're busy and you're moving and you're creating, and somehow these old patterns are still managing to hold you back. Biggest one I see is the overthinking instead of acting. It's this attitude of I'll wait until it's perfect. Let me tell you this, okay? Perfectionism is the ultimate sabotage. One of the best pieces of advice I've heard and lived is fucking move. Just go. When inspiration hits, when that energetic divine drop shows up, don't sit there analyzing it to death. If you overthink, you'll convince yourself that maybe tomorrow, and guess what? Tomorrow never comes. I have been there. I've literally delayed launching things, because I was tweaking and criticizing and overanalyzing until I realized, if I don't put this out, no woman benefits from it. And that's the truth behind it, okay? Or another one I see, you take on too much to prove that you can handle it, and then what? You burn out. And I am so guilty of this one. Really, especially in my old in my yachting days. I remember one time getting a wine shipment really late at night. We had a charter guest the next day coming up, and I stayed up by myself. I, at the time, was running the interior team. I stayed up by myself until 3 a.m. organizing this late wine shipment before the charter guests arrived 7 a.m. that morning. What was my goal here? It was to, make sure that my team got a good night's sleep. So I didn't ask anybody for help. Now, if you've never worked on a yacht, you would know that it's not just, the girls' team. There are people that work nights. There's people that have that schedule. I could have very easily found some sort of support in this situation. But me sabotaging myself, I thought I had to do it all alone, Just a few extra hands could have helped me tremendously. I could have actually slept that night and shown up fully because I had to be fully on for these guests. But no, Fallon had to prove herself. I had to, show everyone that I could handle it. That's sabotage, okay? I'm so grateful I don't subscribe to that story anymore. Or another one I used to see all the time is your future trip instead of celebrating now, you know. And this one's big for a lot of driven people, a lot of go-getters, you know, especially in the world I was in, you know. I remember my crew would count down the days, you know, to their holiday and completely miss where we were. And we were like on a fucking yacht in some really gorgeous places. You know, they weren't present, you know, and I want you to remember that life is happening every step of the way, not just when you hit those big goals. Life is happening now. Every single day you wake up, that is a gift. And celebrating just to celebrate is everything. We are alive on this incredible spinning planet, so don't wait to feel joy. Or another one, you shrink your voice because you're afraid of outgrowing people. Now, this, my loves, is one of the worst energetic signals you can send, not only to yourself, but obviously to the universe. Shrinking tells yourself you're not worthy of having a voice. But guess what? The people who are meant to stay in your life will rise to meet you where you're at. If they don't, they were never meant to be there. You know, I don't even know where I got this from, even when I was younger. I used to tell my girlfriends, you know, if they were having boy problems, like, people are in your life for a reason, a season, or a lifetime. Not everyone is meant to stay forever. But, you know, they still serve a purpose no matter how long they're there. Now, if you can lean into that and not shrink and not dim and not apologize for your energy, that's huge. That's a really big self-sabotager. And I think I'll stop on this one. Or no, you know what? I'll give you one more. Convincing yourself you're preparing things. You know, this kind of ties back to the perfectionism when you're really just procrastinating. I actually spoke about this on a friend's podcast recently. Procrastination is a sneaky one. You know, being a perfectionist can stop you in your tracks, but the beauty of all of these is you can actually always make a change, right? You can always adjust and tweak and improve whatever you're putting out there. The key behind any of this stuff is just to start. Start messy, start imperfect, but start. You know, sabotage isn't always loud. Sometimes it does come, you know, very subtle. It's a very subtle decision to like stay in control instead of staying in trust. Now, I'm not going to lie to you and tell you I've had this all figured out perfectly and handled all the time. I am also having my human experience and I still catch myself, you know, from time to time sabotaging. But the difference here is I actually catch it. And awareness is everything. I talk about awareness pretty much on every episode. You know, every time I kind of get this feeling of overthinking, or if I'm over planning something, or if I'm trying to force something to happen when it's really not supposed to happen, I usually pause and I'll ask myself something like, is this me operating from fear, or is this me operating from faith? You know, if I find myself these days saying I should do this, that's a fucking red flag right there. What's the energy behind that? It's not magnetic, I can tell you that. So just having that tiny pause is a bridge. You know, that's really where we're going to start creating new neural pathways because we're changing the way that we think about things. You know, and if I think back to the beginning of when I even started this business, 100% fell into the loop of tweaking and doubting and, you know, waiting for things to be perfect. But like I said before, what I finally realized is, one, it's not even about me, you know, and if I don't get any of this work into the world, no woman benefits, right? Nobody's like inside my head. These downloads, the inspiration, the energetic hits that come out of nowhere, they're not random, they're divine, right? The spark isn't meant to sit around waiting for you to feel ready. It's meant to move through you, so let it. So I want you to think about this. You know, when the inspiration actually does hit for you, I want you to trust it and I want you to fucking move. I want you to take action. And I promise you, you're going to land where you're meant to every single time. Because we are, yes, co-creating with a force so much bigger than ourselves, you know, so much bigger than we can fully comprehend. And you can call it God, you can call it source, you can call it energy, you can call it, you know, your highest self. But that does not mean we just sit back and wait for everything to happen for us. I take massive, aligned, inspired action. I don't wait to feel ready. I very rarely overthink, and I just move. Why? Because energy needs to move. When you sit on the fence and you start second guessing yourself, you're not being patient. You're not waiting for the sign. You're literally killing your own dreams, you know? And you've got to recognize this. Like, the truth behind all of it, self-sabotage isn't you failing. It's your identity screaming for this comfort. So catch it and fucking move anyways. That is the power and that is the work, right? So if I could give you some practical tools, because I want to give you a little mini framework, because I know a lot of people are struggling with this self-sabotage. Like I said, it's been coming up in my world like way too many times, especially this past week. I don't know what's going on this week. People are like freaking out that the end of the year is coming or something. But of course, number one, awareness. Catch the pattern. Don't judge it. Notice the old story that's trying to keep you safe. You know, feeling like you're not ready to post something or not ready to share something. Notice it. Okay, that's your body and your mind doing their job. Good, thank it if that makes you feel good, but just recognize what's happening here. Have compassion. Understand your old self is trying to protect you. This is not a shame game. This isn't a weakness thing. Your nervous system's literally like, whoa, man, this is new. I'm scared. You're not broken. I just want you to really, really understand that. And you have the power. This is the beauty of all of this. You have the power to recalibrate. So ask yourself, what would my next level self do here? What would Fallon 3.0 do here? This is you stepping out of fear and stepping into your power, into this alignment, into the energy that actually serves you, serves your next level. And of course, I'm going to bring it back to embodiment. Take one tiny aligned action. That is giving yourself self-trust. Today, right now, not tomorrow, not when it's perfect timing, right now. Even if it's the smallest thing, you're sending a message, right? You're having a conversation, you're showing up fully. That action is going to embed this new identity into your reality. Do you understand that? I've said this many, many times. You can't think your way into your new identity. You have to really embody it. And that is shifting energy, rewiring your patterns, and stepping into this next level identity. This is really where we're going to stop leaking the energy in the wrong direction. It's reclaiming this internal power that we all possess, we all have, and where your life actually starts to feel aligned and easy, okay? Because your identity is matching the frequency that you've been dreaming about, that you're trying to actually live in. Like I said, self-sabotage isn't the enemy here, it's the invitation. Every time it shows up, it's just your next level. It's knocking. And it's like, it's time, are you ready? And when you can meet that moment with power instead of panic, that's when life starts to be fun, right? That's when we're actually enjoying the journey. That's when it starts to flow. The resistance and the fear and the old patterns, they're gonna slowly dissolve when you continually step fully into your new energy, into your new frequency, into this next level, and I want you to feel the shift right now. It's so incredible just tapping in and tuning into your internal power and your internal energy. So ladies, if you haven't seen, I've just announced it. I have just opened up a flash sale on my Instagram from today, Wednesday, October 29th until Halloween. So if you're catching this episode late, I apologize. But it was a quick little fun portal that I jumped in and decided to spread. I have just opened, the flash sale for my Frequency Formula mini course, which is 5 powerful packed modules to help you master your energy and your emotions and fully calibrate to this next level frequency. It is an insane deal. And it's only available, like I said, through Halloween. And at the time of this recording, the first 3 women to join get a free VIP week with me in Telegram. Ridiculous, I know, insane offer, but I thought it would be fun. So that includes a 60-minute coaching call with me and then a Monday through Friday access to me in Telegram for daily guidance, for alignment and support. So you're not just learning all of these concepts, you actually start to learn how to live in it, right? And if that gave you even the tiniest spark, the tiny little zing in your chest, this little energetic revamp, I want you to go ahead and just DM me. DM me VIP and I can give you all the juicy details because life on the other side of sabotage is so freeing, so magnetic, and it is yours absolutely to claim. So thank you so much, as always, for listening. Like I said, if this kind of conversation sparked or resonated with you, please like it, share it, tag me, rate it, do all the things, jump into my DMs. I love hearing from you guys, and it really does get the podcasts into the right spaces. And I will catch you all next week. Bye.